Yep.
Good afternoon to all. My name is Shijmal Thomas. I am a student of postgraduate diploma in nursing management. Today I would like to deal with the topic of critical thinking. The two words critical thinking itself sounds that it is something which is very important. It's an important aspect where we have to use our knowledge, comprehension and application. And we, being professional nurses, there are many times where we have to think critically and act accordingly in order to save the life of the patients, isn't it?
Yes.
And even when we go for an interview, the interviewers will make us think critically. I can give you a simple example. In 2008, some employers came from Ireland to India to recruit nurses. So one of my friends attended the interview and she was asked a question. It was a simple question. Like, you are working in a hospital and in your unit, some water spilled on the floor. What would you do? That was the question. And the first action, if you think critically, the first action that we would take was that we would keep a board saying that it's wet floor before we give a call to the housekeeping department to mop it off. That it was, that's the situation where we have to use our critical thinking skill. That means, critical thinking means it is an imperative and indispensable skill that we all should have. Now, let's see the definition of critical thinking. It is the purposeful and reflective judgment about what to believe or what to do in response to the observation, experience, verbal or written expressions or arguments. And there are mainly three types of critical thinking skills. First one is fostering observation, evaluation and critical response and application skill. Coming to the fostering observation, in observation skill, it's the process of thinking about an idea or ideas in a methodical way from a variety of angles. That means it involves a series of questions to be applied to the ideas. The questions that help us to observe the text and to evaluate the text and to respond to it and to use the text critically. The second one is evaluation skills. In this, evaluating the text, stated text, in relation to the history of its ideas and embedded beliefs. Looking at the contextual elements such as the method of gathering evidence, the mode of presentation, the assumption behind the logic of the listening. In other words, in evaluation questions, we historize the stated text. Coming to the third point of critical response and application skill, to further reveal the mosaic of an idea or intention or evidence, the critical thinker will usually involve her or him in some way part of context, using a third set of questions. Certainly, we judge the value, the worth of the idea to us and we study it. And if we hold, if we study, if we take the logic and evidence-based critical thinking seriously, we hold off the conclusion until we apply the observation and evaluation questions to the text. And now I would like to discuss something about the Bloom's critical thinking strategies, questioning strategies. There are 4 levels of strategies. The first level includes knowledge. It means exhibiting the previously learned material by recalling facts, terms, basic concepts and answers. There are certain keywords that can be applied by while using the knowledge, like some WH questions, like who, what, why, when, where, and rest you can read it. And the second level is the comprehension. It means demonstrating an understanding of facts and ideas by organizing, comparing, interpreting, translating, giving descriptions and stating main ideas. The keywords includes compare, contrast, demonstrate, describe, interpret and explain. The third level is application, which means solving problems by applying acquired knowledge, facts, techniques and rules in a different way. The keywords are apply, build, choose, construct, demonstrate, develop, through, experiment with. And the fourth level, the last one, is analysis. It means examining and breaking information into parts by identifying motives or causes, making inferences and finding evidences to support generalizations. Which means we can use analyze, categorize, classify, compare, contrast, discover, divide and examine. The critical thinking in nursing management series, it assists the students and nurses at all levels of experience, especially those with management goals and leadership goals, to become efficient nurse managers and nurse leaders. And also the series, it helps the learners to bridge the gap between learning about abstract principles and experiencing the real life situations. In conclusion, I have discussed about the definition of critical thinking, the 3 types of critical thinking skills, and the 4 levels which is given in the Bloom's critical thinking questioning strategies. And now if you have any questions regarding my topic, you are welcome.
Thank you. Well, that was really good. Like your PowerPoint presentation. In your experience, can you just tell me how you use critical thinking, whether it's in work or personal, whatever it may be? Can you give us an example where you may have used critical thinking?
Okay, I can say that everybody would agree with me that being in the nursing profession, at all times we have to think critically and we have to take the action. But when I went for placement, it happened recently. I have a patient in my nursing home, and he is a bedridden, he's very elderly, bedridden, and he is having MRSA positive. So initially he was, when he was brought from the hospital, he was put on food and fluid chart. So in that way, at the end of the shift, the manager or the deputy manager used to check whether we have completed the records. So we used to make a point that his food and fluid intake is accurate and it's written completely. But at once he has very good appetite, he drinks well, eat well. So at once they stopped maintaining the record and they just kept him on nutrition record. So in that we don't have to mention what or he had drunk. But last week when I was on night shift, I went to him. We noticed he's already catheterized. Now nothing is in his urine bag, and very little urine that is very concentrated. And I was just going through his chart, and I could notice nothing is written, no nutrition intake is maintained. So what action that I took is that before along with the staff nurse, we went for medical intervention. We gave him enough fluids. Like after 3-4 hours, we could notice that the urine bag is filling with clear urine, and the urine output increased and the urine became clear. The simple thing.
So what
practically you thought about? Because
Practically
your
means-
staffs are not working or writing just like that, or
No, because I work in the nursing floor and it's really hectic. And sometimes it depends on the individuals. It's our attitude. Sometimes we care them as our own parents. In that way, we care them really. And everybody may not be having the same attitude. So they just ignore. If we are not told to keep the record, we just ignore it, because nobody is behind us looking at. So in that way, if they are strict, we will keep it everything accurate, up to date.